Hey, that's CJ on the track.
See, the diamonds ain't gonna do nothing but shine. And them watches only take away the time. I need something I can feel deep in my soul. I need more than just some silver and some gold. See, I pray for this and I beg to get to this day. Where I ain't worried about if my rent gon' get paid.
Good morning, Yankees universe. A KOD nation, stand up, and all you DJs, wake up and get your coffee. Welcome to this February 7th edition of the Yankees Morning Brew. Yankee family out there, how you doing? Shout out to the chat and everybody who's tuned in. Eric Wallace is in the building. EY, I see you. Salute, 3 capital S's. My man Tyler Tabbitt is in the building. Tyler, good morning. And of course, the one and only, the great El Tío Anthony Medina. Yo, Anthony. Buen dias, Anthony. We got Mikey Mazza and the 4 Train Express. The 4 Train Express is in the building, and the one and only TC Steels. What it do, family? Salute. Yankee fans, good morning. We are literally less than double digits away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training. Less than double digits away. If you saw it a couple of days ago, the Yankees posted on Twitter, they're packing their bags. They're heading down south to Florida for spring training. Shout out my man Bones. Salute, Bonies. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, my guy. Like I said, double digits away. Oh, Jigga Man said it's a reporting time. My brother in arms, Jigga Man, what it do? Oh my God. I know the news has been slow. Trust me, the news has been slow, so I'm gonna try to do my best not to bore you guys today for this next hour that I have you guys in front of me. But Yankee fans, let's talk about it. The GM for the Pittsburgh Pirates was giving an interview on the radio. What is this? The GM for the Pittsburgh Pirates was giving an interview on the radio talking about Sir Brian Reynolds. Now, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates, if you try to look into this interview, you got to take it for his word, right? When it comes to the GM, we all think that the Pirates are going to wind up trading Brian Reynolds. Obviously, Brian Reynolds did not want to sign an extension with the Pittsburgh Pirates because of the low ball offer that he was given. And I don't blame the man. You're in the majors for about 6 years or whatever. Well, you're in the majors for a few years, 6 years before you get to free agency. So you're going to try to take advantage of every opportunity to maximize the best return that you can get. So if you're Brian Reynolds in his camp, you got to hold back and try to get as much as you can, especially from the Pittsburgh Pirates that's trying to lowball you. But when it comes down to what the GM said, he said everything you need to say if you do not want your fan base to turn on you, right? If you do not want the Pittsburgh diehards to turn on you, the 10 that's left in the stadium that still comes to see this team plays, if you don't want those 15 fans that are in the stand to turn on you, you have to say this type of thing, right? Shout out to the fans of the Pittsburgh Pirates as well. I like to go into every different team around Major League Baseball. I like to check out the tone of their fan base. So, just like I have a Yankees Morning Brew, you got Pittsburgh Pirate fans that have their own content creating shows that they make for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I like to go check it out and see what the tone is. And the Pittsburgh Pirate fan base, if they trade Brian Reynolds, the fan base they're going to be fed up. if you listen to what they're saying, that they're tired of this organization. They're tired of this ownership group when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're tired of it. They do not want to see another star like Brian Reynolds leaves. If you think about it, they had Brian Reynolds. They had Brian Reynolds at one point. They had Garrett Cole at another point. Clay Holmes at another point. Musgrover, another pitcher. They've had a few guys. Kyle Hendricks, I believe, sure I'm not mistaken, but they've had a few guys over the past 5 seasons that if you would have kept them instead of trading them away, you would have been in a good position to contend, at least in the NL Central. But yeah, if you're a Pittsburgh Pirate fan, you got to be super upset, and you're praying that they do not trade Brian Reynolds, right? Barry Bonds was another. Thank you, TC Stills. Barry Bonds, years ago, Barry Bonds got fed up with the ownership group with Pittsburgh as well. Felt they didn't value him, felt that they weren't pushing him out. So Barry Bonds left to San Francisco. You can't blame him. Jameson Taillon is another one. Andrew McCutchen back in the day. Actually, you know what's funny? They traded Andrew McCutchen to the Giants, and the prospect they got back in return was Brian Reynolds. So trading Andrew McCutchen, they got back Brian Reynolds, and that's the type of move they're trying to make right now. If they trade Brian Reynolds, they want to make sure they got that superstar coming back. My man Ruben is in the building. NYY News. Ruben is in the building. Ruben, how you doing, my guy? Hope all is well. Michael Caputs is in the building. He said, same team as last year. Yankees will yet again lose to the Astros and failed to make it to the World Series. Caputo, you need a virtual hug, my man. I swear to God, I'm gonna pay for a cameo, bro, of Brian Cashman, just to tell you he loves you, bro. Alan Landsman is in the building. Alan Landsman, what it do, what it do, what it do. Talking about interviews, nice segue. Talking about GMs giving interviews. Let's talk about the interview that happened over the weekend that Yankee fans, they kind of split on. 50-50. That's what I've been checking, especially when I'm looking on Twitter. Let me know what you guys feel. But a Mr. Brian Cashman decided 12 to 13 days ahead of pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training, he decides to give an interview to a Chicago radio, for some reason, radio station in Chicago, which was weird. But obviously, he gives the interview, and credit to the guys from Chicago who posed a question to Brian Reynolds. Who posed a question to Brian Cashman when they said, when it comes to this offseason, right? If it was a normal offseason, you guys re-signed Judge, you guys got Carlos Rodon, was able to re-sign Anthony Rizzo. Isn't that a great offseason? Isn't that a good offseason for your team? And then Brian Cashman tried to be funny. This is where humor escapes Brian Cashman, but he's like, well, if you could go, and I'm paraphrasing here. This is not a word for word thing that he said. I'm paraphrasing, but he said, well, if you was to ask Yankee fans, not winning a championship or being 4 games away from making it to the World Series was a failure. And Brian Cashman, guess what? It is a failure, and there's one reason and one reason only why it's a failure. It's because the organization that you work for, Brian Cashman, they have been telling us as a fan base for years that you don't settle for anything else but a championship. Nothing else but a championship means a failure of a season. That we heard Derek Jeter say it. We've heard the boss say it, rest in peace. Hal Steinbrenner then said it to, echo his father. But Brian Cashman, the reason why Yankee fans feel that way, if we don't win a championship, it's a failure. It's because the organization that you work for have been peddling this to the fan base for years. You guys have been telling us, listen, if we don't get a championship, our season is a failure. So from that point, from that logic, us as fans, we're just going off of what you said, right? We're just going off of what your organization has been preaching to us. My man Mark Teammakers in the building. What it do, what it do, what it do. He said it's kind of like the current president and his absolute failure managing our country. First of all, I keep that out of the chat. You're able to put it in or whatever. But it's kind of like if you are a business owner, right? If you own, say, a Tesla or say a Twitter, right? And you say the goal is to bring the best interface for the user. If your goal is to bring the best interface for the user, if you're saying you're going to take over a company and and change the interface to make it better for the user, we're expecting that. And as a user, if we go into the app, if we go onto the website, if we go into whatever, and the interface is still trash, you have sold us a bag of doo-doo. We are going off of your words, my man. So if this front office, if this organization for years and years and years, they have been telling us as a fan base that, hey, anything less than a championship is a failure of a season. Know that as an ownership group, this is how we feel. Then guess what? Us as fans are going to feel the same way. My man Alan Landsman said Cashman is an epic failure. More than half of the tax threshold, revenue, and no World Series appearance. Whenever you own a storied franchise like the Yankees, the Lakers, or Celtics, the goal is chips. Absolutely, Alan. 100%. You could most recently look to the Lakers. What did they do? What did the Lakers do to end their drought? When the Lakers, they needed to end their drought because they haven't won, they didn't win since Kobe was 2010, 2009, whichever year is that. I may be off by a year, but they had a 10-year drought. And what did the Lakers do? They went out there and signed the best player in the world when it comes to a LeBron James. That's what the Lakers did. And what happened? They got a championship. The Celtics, they're in a drought right now. But the Celtics right now, they have the best record in all of basketball. That's not the Yankees. It was the Yankees for like the first 2 months of the season. After that, it just was boom. They finished the season 50-51, which is ridiculous to think about. We are going on a 14-year window of not making it to the World Series or even winning a World Series. A 14-year window. My guy Halal from Backstage Baseball, he hasn't been alive during his lifetime. The Yankees haven't won a World Series while he's been alive. I would like my guy Halal to enjoy a Yankees championship. It's crazy to think about. I'm starting to feel old when I say that. But shout out my guy Halal with Backstage Baseball, and shout out the guys at Grunt Baseball as well. Michael Caputo said, Brian Cashman is the main reason we don't have a championship in 14 years. When you're in charge of the team and you make bonehead decisions and you get bonehead results, well, guess what? You're a bonehead and you're the reason. So, Caputo, I have no disagreement with you on that one. TC Still, Cashman is an idiot and makes bone. That's crazy. I didn't even read this. It's crazy that me and you, we both call them boneheads. Bonehead moves, and they have not improved the offense, but we need to see how the season plays out. We can't say it's over from the jump. No, I agree with you 100%, TC Stills. We cannot say before we're even in spring training that, you know what, this season is over. Why? Because it's going to be boring. I'm going to just be honest. A year with not watching the Yankees is a year of just boring baseball, boring sports. The one thing I could say that I'm a bit happy about, and this is why I give credit to the Yankees, is that I have a team that year in and year out, no matter what the circumstances are, they're going to try to be competitive. That's the one silver lining that I can find. Now, how competitive every year is different. We may be competitive and win our division, but get knocked out in the first round. We may be competitive and make it to the wild card series and get knocked out in the wild card game, like we did back a few years ago against the Astros. we may do that. Is that the level of competitiveness that I want to see from my team? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I'd rather root for that team that loses in the wild card game or loses in the wild card round than root for the Cincinnati Reds or root for the Pittsburgh Pirates or root for the Detroit Tigers. That's the one thing that I'm happy about. And now the news of Frankie Montas, and shout out my guy Pete Simonetti from NYY News TV for reporting on this. But it seems like a Frankie Montas may be out for the entire season. We don't know yet. We got to see what the results are. But if the issue is, if we get a Frankie Montas out for the entirety of this season, pitches not even 10 games for the Yankees since trading for him, then the Frankie Montas trade may go down as one of the worst trades Brian Cashman has pulled off as a GM. Or like Caputo said, an Oakland A's fan. He said, did you see what the Oakland A's fans? No, I didn't, Caputo. Let me know what the Oakland A's fans did. My guy Delano Still Jr.'s in the building. DSJ, what it do, what it do, what it do. He says, oh, root for the Baltimore Orioles. Yuck. Well, 10 years ago, the Baltimore Orioles, they were a pretty good team with a young Manny Machado and a Matt Wieters. So, yeah, but now it seems like the Orioles, they have a very good young core, and they may surprise some teams. I know they surprised a lot of teams last year, but they may surprise some teams this year. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's why the TV ratings are down and stuff like that. And you can't blame it. But also, too, guys, if you can, while you come into the building, while you come into the chat, if you could do one thing and one thing only, hit those likes for your boys. And if you can, also, you know that, yes, we are here, Knights of DJ and KOD Media, but we are starting up a new channel. It is called the Morning Brew Sports. Right? The Morning Brew Sports will be housing the Yankees Morning Brew and the Knicks Morning Brew going forward within the next couple of weeks or the next few weeks. So if you guys can, I'm putting the link in the chat right now. If you haven't, please make sure to follow that channel, subscribe to that channel, because that will be the new home for the Yankees Morning Brew and the Knicks Morning Brew and for other shows that we are doing. In 2023, KOD, the Knights of DJ, are going to be a full-time sponsor for the Morning Brew Sports, for the Yankees Morning Brew and for the Knicks Morning Brew. So all this means is that we're giving out big boy pants and we're giving out wings so we can spread them and fly. We did such a great job within the past 8 months, 10 months growing Knights of DJ. We're going to do it also with the Morning Brew Sports. So if you guys can, please subscribe to the Morning Brew Sports. Like I said, going forward within the next few weeks, that's where you will find the Yankees Morning Brew, and that's where you will find the Knicks Morning Brew. And as you guys come in, if you can hit that like button for your boy, I would gladly appreciate it. I've never said that, Caputo. Those words never came out of my mouth. I've never said that. What I'm saying is, I would rather root for a team or follow a team that loses in the wild card round than follow a team like the Oakland A's and Cincinnati Reds. So you saying that, so you're fine with the Yankees never winning a World Series again? I've never said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. I never wasted oxygen, which you need to live. I've never mentioned those. I never used oxygen to mention those words, Capoots. Adam Landsman says, just think he passed on Rodon a year ago, and if he signed him to a contract then, no Montas trade, and we will have a starting pitcher to trade for Reynolds. He could have put Gio at shortstop, brought up Peraza later. Allen, my man Allen, you just made me cry a tear, because you are absolutely right. Because last offseason, Carlos Rodon was a free agent. Last offseason, Carlos Rodon was right there for the Yankees to offer a contract for. Hell, if we would have offered him a multi-year contract, we would have probably paid less than what we offered him this offseason. Right? And then the starting pitchers that we traded away to get Montas, you are right. We could have used that in a deal to get Sir Brian Reynolds. Not sure if those starting pitchers or those prospects would have got the deal done. But those prospects would have got us closer to getting Brian Reynolds than where we are at right now, Alan, if you understand my drift. Anthony Medina just put the this emoji right here, this side with the hand in the face. This is for both me and Anthony Medina with what Alan just said right there. Let me see. I'm just now when we talk about third base, let's talk about it. Because it looks like the Yankees are gonna go with Josh Donaldson at third base. Now, Yankee fans, let's hope it's a situation or a scenario that the team that we have right now, just like the team that we had to begin the 2022 season or the team that we had going into the 2022 season, that lineup from the 2022 opening day lineup was a different lineup than what we had in the postseason, right? That opening day lineup is going to be a hell of a lot different than our opening day lineup this year, right? During the season, Brian Cashman makes his moves to improve the team. We all know that. So maybe, and I'm trying to be as gracious as I can. So maybe there was a situation that in this offseason that we were just in, or that we are still in right now because it's technically not over, that there was several moves Brian Cashman tried to make, but the asking price may have been too much. Or teams thinking that they may be able to compete may not be willing to trade some of their pieces away as willingly as they would be when it comes to the middle of the season, a week or two before the trade deadline. So maybe we go into the season with this team we have on paper with the hopes of improving our team as we enter the season and as we progress through the season. Because the opening day lineup guaranteed. The opening day lineup will not have Anthony Volpe. Absolutely not. Because of the service time, the manipulation. As the season goes on, Anthony Volpe may get called up. As the season goes on, there may be a left fielder that the Yankees may be able to find through the trade block. There may be someone that emerges a month into the season, their team is out of it, last place, horrible start to the season, may be willing to trade a piece. The Chicago Cubs, I'm watching the Chicago Cubs because it's the Chicago Cubs, the first 2 months of the season are horrible and they're in no place to contend in that division or for the wild card. We may be able to call up the Chicago Cubs and ask them about Ian Happ, who would definitely be an upgrade with whatever we're going to put out in left field right now. Caputo, you have to put into context. Why did the Yankees ticket sales drop over the last 2 years? Caputo, what happened 2 years ago? There was a panoramic where you couldn't go to stadiums. The Yankees last year in 2022, they made profit-wise pre-pandemic numbers. Last year, the ticket sales weren't down. The year before, the ticket sales were down 2 years ago. And why? Because we was in a panoramic. The Yankees couldn't sell out the stadium because we weren't allowed to have as many people inside of the stadium. Caputo. I love fucking putting on Caputo. But yeah, when you look at our team, how it's constructed right now at the moment, Caputo, that's why last year that just had passed in 2022, they posted numbers that were pre-pandemic numbers. So yes, 2 years ago, that ticket sales were down because of a panoramic that we were in. But now, last year, they're back to pre-pandemic numbers. The boss is in the building. Pete Simonetti, NYY News TV. How you doing? And guys, if you guys didn't check the notification already, April 1st and April 2nd, it's going to be a movie. It's going to be a 4K IMAX type of movie. So make sure, if you guys can't buy a ticket to show up to Yankee Stadium, make sure you show up April 2nd to the Gramercy Ale House. Oh, and we got some breaking news. Damn, we unbanned Caputo and not Heck gonna ban him. Damn. Michael Caputo was unbanned from the NYY News TV chat. So Caputo, make sure you have fun and be respectful and don't get banned again, bro. That's not cool. Caputo said, I saw play the video. Okay, I played the video. The producer's telling me to play the video. So you know what? I was waiting till later, but I guess I got to do it now, Jigga.
Run it. I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn petty. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're in hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to.
Ow! Make sure you guys get your ticket. Jigga Man's like, fire. Who got tickets already? I want to know who's coming. Pete, me. Jigga Man, me too. Let's go. 100%. I cannot wait. That weekend is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for that weekend to come. April 1st can't get here faster. April 1st can't get here sooner. L.I. Yankee King, my man, you were never late, L.I. L.I., just know that you were never late, bro. It's better late than never, my man. Is that we needed that video, some positivity. Absolutely, TC Stills. Because, you know, sometimes having conversations, especially with Michael Caputo, sometimes can get depression. But that's my guy, Caputo. Just know, when I be throwing jabs at Caputo, it's all love. Just like Caputo said here, Hector and me are cool. 100%. You may just make me go a little bit bolder than I am right now, but we're 100% cool. Hector, you know I'm going to behave. I just want to see results, man. Oh, I get it, Caputo. Trust me. We all want to see results. But, Caputo, make sure you pull up April 2nd, Caputo. If you can't make it to the stadium April 1st, make sure you pull up April 2nd, Gramercy Ale House in the city on 23rd Street, Caputo. Look it up. Google it. You'll be able to find the bar. It's an amazing bar. It's not that far. I think it's a 5-minute walk from the 6th train. If you guys are close to the 6 lines, you'll be able to get it. Oh, my man Pete, he said, unfortunately, I have a rant coming today. Woo! The multiverse is going to get shooketh because Pete Simonetti will be dropping a rant today. Pete, make sure you just drink some tea. You feel me? Dose a little bit of cinnamon in that tea. You want to clear, you want to clear the vocal cords. Take it from somebody who knows how to sing, Pete. You know that intro. Take it from somebody that knows how to treat his vocal cords well. So if you're going to go on a rant, make sure you get some tea. Make sure you put some cinnamon in it. You know what I mean? Before them vocal cords crack out, because we need them for the season, Pete. We need them for the season. My man DSJ said, Jigga Man said, play the video. And it's going to run clips of Jigga's acting debut as Lex Luthor in the off-Broadway show, Superman, The Quest for Peace. Pete, love you too, bro. Love you too, my guy. I can't wait for you to get into New York City, bro. It's going to be like a frat party, honestly, because I cannot behave myself in public. Just letting you guys know that right now. I am a loose cannon. If you guys thought that, oh, well, you know, Hector on YouTube, that's just him on YouTube. No, I'm a loose cannon. This ADHD takes control of my mind sometimes, and I'm just a loose one. But I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Like I said, if you guys can, go get your tickets. Go on NYYNewsTV.com or go on Twitter. The link is on Twitter. If you go to Pete's page on Twitter, it's pinned right at the top. It's the top pinned tweet. So make sure you get your ticket. And like I said, show up April 2nd. It's a free thing. They got wingies. Tommy likes the wingies. That's from Tommy Boy. If you don't understand the reference, Tommy likes the wingies because Tommy likes the wingies. But no, Yankee fans, we got to keep on talking about it because the Frankie Montas situation, wingies, the Frankie Montas situation, it's something we're going to have to deal with. It's something we're definitely going to have to deal with for this season, whether he pitches for us or whether he doesn't pitch for us. Hopefully he pitches for us. But if he doesn't, like I said, this will go down as the worst trade that Brian Cashman has done. Let me know what you guys think. What was the worst trade trading for Javier Vasquez the 2 times, what we gave up. The first time we traded Javier Vasquez, we gave up Juan Rivera, Nick Johnson, a couple of other prospects as well. Second time we traded for Juan Rivera, we gave up Melky Cabrera and another prospect. Do you guys think those 2 trades were worse than what we pulled off for Frankie Montas, sending J.P. Sears, Wisniewski, Luis Medina over there to Oakland? Let's try to break down the trades. Let's try to dissect it. You think it was a worse trade than what we did with Detroit when we traded for Jeff Weaver, who never turned out to be anything with the Yankees? Right? Oh, Super Bowl as well. Super Bowl Sunday. Make sure you guys, make sure you get your wingies on Super Bowl Sunday. I know the Giants aren't playing, right? Disappointing. The New York Giants will not be in the Super Bowl. So I will be rooting for Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I cannot see myself rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. No whatsoever. He said Juan Rivera looked like a larger version of Daddy Yankee. The crazy thing is that if you guys didn't know, Daddy Yankee, he was a major league prospect when he was 16, 17 years old. The reason why Daddy Yankee never made it to the major leagues is because he was shot literally right above his knee. Tore the cartilage that was right there. No major league team wanted to sign him. But Daddy Yankee, he was a major league prospect at one time in his life. He was a shortstop at one time in his life. So Daddy Yankee was a big-time prospect, just like Nelly. If you guys know the rapper Nelly actually got drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, right? So there's a lot of guys out there that could have made it to the major leagues, but just never did. But Daddy Yankee, he said, Juan, that is a good comparison. Juan Rivera does look like a larger version of Daddy Yankee. But Juan Rivera, that is one of the Yankee prospects that we traded away. He never was like a superstar, but he did have a solid career. You know, he did have a solid career when he was with the Angels. He was the protection for Vladimir Guerrero for a lot of years in LA. So Juan Rivera, like I said, he may not have been a superstar, may not have been an all-star, but he did carve out a solid major league career for himself. You cannot argue against that whatsoever. You know, I'm not sure if he would have stood with the Yankees, how that would have turned. Maybe more popularity on the East Coast, maybe at least one all-star appearance, maybe, but the career that he carved out for himself with the Angels was a solid career. Mike Lowe, another Yankees prospect who had a solid career with Florida, got signed to a contract, had a couple of down seasons, but then went to Boston and took advantage of that green monster in Boston and was able to revise his career, bring back to life his career. You know, so it's been a lot of guys that the Yankees traded away, that Cashman traded away and wind up being good other places. Here's a good question. Who is the best player Cashman traded away? And that is a great question. Off the top of my head, guys, let me know in the chat, what do you guys think? Who's the best player that Brian Cashman traded away? If he never got hurt, I would say Nick Johnson. Nick Johnson was a solid first baseman. He made a couple all-star appearance with the Nationals. Had a solid career also. The only thing about Nick Johnson is he could never stay healthy. Soriano, that was going to be my next one. Soriano, definitely the best player that we traded away. Even though the return was Alex Rodriguez, Soriano was the best. Yeah, I'll say it's Soriano, Pete. That is the best player that Brian Cashman traded away. The return that we got for Soriano also. But if you look at it, that was the best return that we got as well. If you look at every other piece that we traded away, the return for those pieces wasn't as good. But trading for Alex Rodriguez, the return that we got back for Soriano was the best return we got. He was the best player Brian Cashman traded away, while at the same time getting us back the best return that Brian Cashman has gotten back to this day as a GM. In close second, you could say trading Aroldis Chapman and getting back Gleyber Torres may have been the second to that A-Rod deal, you know, just because of the level that Gleyber has. Gleyber, 38 home runs, was an all-star. Was, you know, if he bounces back, I don't think Gleyber will ever have the impact Alex Rodriguez had, so you can have it as a close second. Besides that, It would have been Andrew Miller for Jackson Frazier if Jackson Frazier was able to make it in the major leagues, but we all know how that story ended with Jackson Frazier, the artist formerly known as Jackson Frazier. Soriano was a huge fan favorite. Yeah, absolutely. Soriano was a huge fan favorite. Funny thing about Alfonso Soriano, where he's from in DR, is where my best friend Greggy is from. Soriano. He spells his last name without an I. It's an O there for Soriano. But his father had a nightclub called Soriano, and everybody thought it was for Alfonso Soriano, but it wasn't. It's for him and his family, last name Soriano. But that's where in DR where all the shortstops are from. All the greatest shortstops are from La Gran Madacran. However you pronounce it, is this one place in DR that gives birth to the best shortstops we've seen in Major League Baseball, right? Miguel Tejada is from over there. Alfonso Soriano was from over there. It's just a lot like that. That area in DR, it breeds shortstops that make it to the major league level, right? So back in the day, the Yankees traded Fred McGriff, Dave Collins, and Mike Morgan to the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for Dale Murphy and Tom Dode. I don't even know who Tom Dode is, but does it sound like that was a good return? Soriano had a fantastic career. Even when we got Soriano back, that second half of that season, when he had about 13 to 17 home runs with us, Soriano at the age of 36 as well. Soriano looked like he was about to get into his next career, his next breath of air when it comes to his career. But the next season, we all know what happened. Soriano reported to spring training. He was a bit overweight. He got sick as well. He caught a real bad influenza and stuff like that, and was never to find himself during the season. The Yankees cut him, I think, 1 month into the season, and he wanted to retirement. Soriano, phenomenal career, was a 40-40 guy, a member of the 40-40 club. Almost was a member of the 40-40 club with the Yankees, but he got to it with the Washington Nationals. And credit to the Nationals. They were a loser franchise at the time. They traded for, I shouldn't say loser. I take that back. That's a bit harsh. They're somewhat a new franchise moving from Montreal to Washington, a whole name change, a whole rebranding, going out there and trading for Alfonso Soriano just so people can come to the stadium. And that's what they needed to have. They had nobody else. Who were people going to go to the stadium for? Juan Rivera? No, he wasn't with them. But no, yeah, they didn't have nobody. So they had to trade for Alfonso Soriano so they could have that name that brings people to the stadium. And it was at RFK Stadium, which was, if you guys remember how RFK Stadium looked, it literally looked like a military base. I got a baseball field in the middle of it with a dome. I don't know how people were able to hit home runs or how Soriano was able to hit home runs in that big ballpark. It was a ballpark that was used before the 80s. It was used in the 70s and 60s. So it was a crazy time in baseball when RFK Stadium was around. Soriano, Drake, and Nice are really yo, Delano, he's stupid. Caputa said, call me crazy, but I thought the Yankees should have kept Soriano instead of trading for A-Rod. Maybe if the Yankees didn't trade Soriano, the curse would have never been broken. That's a good argument. If A-Rod would have went to Boston instead of coming to the Yankees, I'm not sure if the Red Sox would have won that World Series. I'm not sure. They would have never got the shortstop Cabrera. There's a lot of guys that had big contributions. They would have never had Dave Roberts to come off the bench. So in some alternate timeline, Caputo's right. If A-Rod goes to Boston instead of coming to the Yankees, Manny Ramirez doesn't do damage against us in the 2004 ALCS. David Ortiz is David Ortiz, but Manny Ramirez in Texas, that tandem would have never did what they did. My man G-Man's in the building. He said Soriano and A-Rod trade. The Yankees gave Texas chance to pick from 2 players, and Texas chose a player that never made it, and they passed on Cano. Both Texas and the Arizona Diamondbacks too, G-Man. Because when we traded for Randy Johnson, both Cano and Ching-Ming Wang was in that pool of players we told the Diamondbacks to pick from. And both the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers decided, no, we don't like this guy, Robinson Cano. We're going to pick these guys. And the guys that they picked never even made it past AAA. Back then, the Yankees farm system, I don't even think we could have called it a farm system. It was more of an amateur league back then. The Yankees farm system was horrible. Our top prospects was Andy Phillips and Bubba Crosby. You know that's horrible if those are your top prospects. DSJ said, heck, if you don't want me to be the only victim of my trolling, you better bring in a guest, open panel victims. No, DSJ, we good. Open panel, that's going to be on Thursday. Carlos with a K is in the building. Carlos, what it do? How you doing? But when you talk about the A-Rod trade and you bring up the A-Rod trade, right, it's good to try to put yourself, if you could put yourself in like a time capsule and go back to the year 2003, 2004, that offseason in between 03 and 04, and you have the conversation with Brian Cashman, hindsight 50-50. We know how these players' careers turned out as it is right now. But I'm going to ask you guys, as Yankee fans, if you were able to go back and pass and make some corrections, would you have still signed Gary Sheffield? Or would you want the Yankees to have signed Vladimir Guerrero? Granted, I understand Vladimir Guerrero Jr., his antics. I get that. He's a little twerp. But I'm asking you guys, what do you guys think? Credit to Sheffield. Chef had a phenomenal stint here with the Yankees. 04 MVP candidate. 05, 30-plus home runs. 2006, that's when he got injured, and that's when his career started to go downhill. But I'm going to ask you guys, would you have rather the Yankees sign Vladimir Guerrero for the stretch of 2004 to 2008 or 2009? Or were you happy with the Yankees signing Sheffield and getting the production you got from Sheffield in 04 and 05? And keep this in mind. In 2004, when Gary Sheffield was the runner-up to the MVP, the person who won the MVP was Vladimir Guerrero. So it's just an interesting conversation to have that I just want to have with you guys. Who would you have rather have? Vladimir Guerrero, or you happy you would have stood put with Gary Sheffield? Personally, me, I love Sheffield. Like Caputo just said, I love Sheffield. I love seeing that swing. There's not a more iconic batting stance than Gary Sheffield. If you were a Yankee fan, and if you was a young buck, if you weren't imitating Gary Sheffield's batting stance, you didn't have a childhood. I tell you that right now. If you weren't in the park swinging your little 5-pound wrist back and forth, trying to imitate Gary Sheffield as best as you can before you break your wrist, if you weren't doing that when you were young as a Yankee fan, you didn't have a childhood, right? Gary Sheffield was a beast. 04, 05, phenomenal. I think 04, he hit over 300 as well with 30-plus home runs. Phenomenal. But if I had to, and I'm still on the fence of this, if I had to, I would have signed Vladimir Guerrero. And on top of that, as well, the next offseason from 04 to 2005, personally, me, I would have never dished out that money for Pavano, for Jared Wright, maybe even for Randy Johnson. Those three starting pitchers, let me pull back. Randy Johnson had a solid first year with the Yankees. His 2006 season was horrible. I think he had an ERA over 5, if I'm not mistaken. Take that back. Pavano and Jared Wright, I would have stood far away from. I would have signed Carlos Beltran that offseason, and then I would have found some starting pitchers to trade for. Because hell, in 2005, towards the end of the season, we had to do that anyway. Because both Jared Wright and Carl Pavano weren't pitching for the Yankees in the postseason in 2005. They weren't pitching for the Yankees in the rotation in September of that season either. So looking back on it, I understand hindsight is 50-50, but a 6-year deal for Carlos Beltran, having a lineup that had both Carlos Beltran, Vladimir Guerrero, and Alex Rodriguez as the heart of that lineup, 3, 4, and 5, with Hideki Matsui to protect, with a Jorge Posada in there to protect. Mind you, Jorge Posada, he won the batting title a few years later. That Yankees lineup would have been deadly. Would have been deadly, especially from the production we would have got out of center field with Beltran, because the production we got, I love Bernie Williams. You got to give credit to Bernie Williams. 2005 Bernie Williams, he didn't have the legs to be an everyday center fielder. He was more of a DH than anything, but we could have put him as a full-time DH because we had Jason Giambi and the parasite he had in his hip growing because of the PEDs he took. My man Ella said, "Oh wait." He says, can Ella get the flowers about Cashman being a bottom 5 GM? Ella, I'm growing the flowers for you right now, my man. I'm waiting for you to get in New York City so I can give you your bouquet in person. Ella, you definitely get the flowers when it comes to that, because it's kind of true. And also, Ella, I'm trying to perfect these shirts, but I may be having these shirts going on selling for the season, but I think we all want a fire boom, right? I think we all want a fire boom. So I'm working on perfecting these t-shirts, and I will have them. I said I will have them in the merch store. So make sure you guys will be able to purchase that in the merch show that's down below in the description. And don't forget Kevin. How can we forget Kevin Brown? How can we forget Kevin Brown? You know what's crazy? Kevin Brown is credited on being on the Yankees roster in 2005. I do not remember Kevin Brown pitching for the Yankees in 2005. Do you guys? Does anyone remember Kevin Brown pitching for the Yankees in 2005? Because for some reason, he's credited on his major league statistics, on his card, of pitching for the Yankees in 2005. I don't remember him pitching for the Yankees in 2005. Maybe it was just a blur. My man Fritz the Gotham Yankee Walters in the building. He said, watching the Yankees season is like witnessing a whole Game of Thrones season. Only difference, Yankees leadership does it year after year again, and the fans out here still redefining and paying this BS. I would say, Fritz, it's like watching The Walking Dead after they killed Glenn. Because that's when I stopped watching The Walking Dead, is after they killed Glenn. Because how can you kill Glenn? He's such a great character. But yeah, 100%. He said Brown only made 13 starts that year, going 4-7 with a 3. I do not remember Kevin Brown pitching for the Yankees in 2005. I used to play MVP baseball historically, and I do not remember him being on the roster in 2005. Maybe because I was like, 13 years old, 14 years old at the time. But yeah. 4-7 with a 6.50 ERA for the Yankees. Horrible. We had to go out there and trade for guys like Sean Chacon. And Sean Chacon is who saved our season. We had to call up journeyman pitchers like Aaron Small, who went 10-0 to save our season. Just think of it. Aaron Small, who looked like John Cena without the muscles. Get a picture of Aaron Small and John Cena. You never be able to look away after that, right? Unpopular opinions is in the building. He was a bum. That is why. Yeah, that's exactly why. That's exactly why. Unpopular opinions. I'm not sure if you have your own channel, but if you do, feel free to put the link into the chat. That way people can find you. One thing about this channel, if you don't know, I always love to promote and I always love to upbring other Yankee content creators. So unpopular opinions, I'm not sure if you are a content creator, but if you are, feel free to put the link to your stuff in the chat. Feel free to let people know where they can find you as well, my guy. Just know that over here, you're able to do that at the Yankees Morning Brew. Brown retired in 2006. Yeah, I remember that. Hold on. I remember in 2004 when Red Sox put Manny Ramirez on waivers. Yankees had a chance to pick him up, but they didn't want him. Also, too, you guys remember, I think it was before Manny Ramirez went to the White Sox, like after his Dodgers tenure, there was apparently a deal in the works with Manny Ramirez, and at the last seconds, the Yankees pulled out, and then he went to sign with the Chicago White Sox. It was so close that ESPN, Baseball Tonight, they had a whole image, a whole segment to Manny Ramirez going to the Yankees. They had Manny Ramirez in pinstripes, and they had a whole segment on Baseball Tonight, but it never happened. He said, working on content for the season, bro, but thank you. Listen, anytime you want to jump on the open panels, my man, you're more than welcome to jump on the open panels. I have them Thursdays. It starts around 11:30 is when I put the link. You're more than welcome to jump onto the open panel, my man, so we could have a conversation about the team. But yeah, working on content, whatever content you got for the season, just know you can come and promote it over here, my guy. Just know that all is good, all is well. But guys, yeah, it was an interesting time when you look back at the Yankees in the early 2000s, or even in the mid 2000s. Because I thought it was interesting in 2006. We had the injuries, Gary Sheffield running up the first base line, Hideki Matsui as well, with his broken wrist, and trading for Bobby Abreu. I enjoyed the Bobby Abreu trade, like trading for Bobby Abreu, a natural 3-hole hitter, high average guy, high on base guy, low home runs. He was never the home run king that he was in that home run derby for that season. But I thought Bobby Abreu was a solid pickup, not a superstar pickup, anything like that. A solid pickup. He had a couple solid seasons with the Yankees before going over and finishing career the way he finished the career. He was with the Angels for a couple of seasons. Actually, played against the Yankees in the 2009 postseason with the Angels in the ALDS, if you guys remember that. But guys, put in the chat down low and also hit that like button if you haven't hit that like button. And again, I'm putting in the chat, this is the link for the new channel, the Morning Brew Sports. Like I said, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but we will be moving all the content when it comes to Knicks Morning Brew, when it comes to Yankees Morning Brew, over to the Morning Brew Sports within the next few weeks as well. Since this is a new channel and we have so much leeway, we'll be adding more shows to the channel as well. So yes, you got the Yankees Morning Brew, but during the season, you may see a post-game show here or there. You may see a midday show for some Yankee talks right before the game, like a little pregame type joint. I'm not sure. I'm trying to work it out right now. I'm trying to let this Dr. House brain of mine work its magic. I'm not reading any more Delano Still Jr.'s chat because all he does is troll. No, but DSJ said Hector took a trip to the Dominican Republic all decked out in Yankees gear with a David Ortiz haircut. Once he did that, his inner Yankee curse. You know what? The funny thing, David Ortiz grew up a Yankee fan. David Ortiz grew up a diehard Yankee fan. David Ortiz went to the Yankees tryout in the Dominican Republic when he was 16 years old. And the Yankees, they didn't sign him. Whoever didn't sign him should never get a job in Major League Baseball. I'm just saying that, right? Cashman signed Sergio Mitri in 2008, and he was trashed. But that didn't stop Cashman from signing him again. Yeah, 100%. The only thing that, and this is the thing when it comes to signing players like Sergio Mitri, thinking you're going to get something out of it, but you don't. But then you trade for a Damaso Marte from Pittsburgh, and he winds up helping you out. I think that Damaso Marte trade, if we didn't make that trade for Damaso Marte, we would have never had that lefty in the bullpen that we needed to neutralize bats in the 2009 postseason. That 2009 trade deadline when we got a Damaso Marte, when we got the Jerry Hurstand Jr., Eric Kinski as well, that 2009 trade deadline probably was the best trade deadline Brian Cashman has had since he's taken his job running the Yankees. Think about it, right? Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. We got a few minutes left. Let's talk about it. Was there another trade deadline that Brian Cashman had that was better than the 2009 trade deadline? To my memory, I can't think of it. The 2009 trade deadline, in my opinion, was the best trade deadline Brian Cashman had. Unpopular opinion said, well, Big Papi was mediocre until Boston. No. Yeah, I agree. But also, the Seattle Mariners, they signed him at a young age, right? They signed him. They traded him to Minnesota. They got nothing back for him as a prospect. As a teenage prospect, David Ortiz beat both Ken Griffey Jr. and Alex Rodriguez in a home run contest as a teenage prospect. So yes, granted, being in Minnesota and being in Seattle, he never amounted to anything until finding himself in Boston with that hitting coach in Boston, having the Green Monster to take advantage of. But if he was in the Yankees organization, who's to say that he doesn't come up and takes advantage of that short porch in right field? We've seen him took advantage of it in Boston. Just saying. David Justice in 2000 is very interesting because what he had like 23 home runs for the Yankees after we traded for him. Very interesting. I like that, Tyler. I honestly like that one. Anthony Medina said, just like Javier Vasquez was traded for and then was traded for again, it really didn't work out both for Javi both times. Yeah, man. And I wanted it to work out for Javier Vasquez, man. And if you look at his numbers everywhere else he went, he was phenomenal. Chicago, I think he had a no-hitter in Chicago as well, but I think he won 19 games with the Chicago White Sox. With the Atlanta Braves, he was phenomenal as well. I'm not sure. I thought it was at first because the NL, the National League, you had the pitcher you had to pitch to. I thought that was the reason he had success, but he was able to pitch with the Chicago White Sox with no problem. Just not sure if it's just being in New York and the buzz of being a Yankee. Maybe you just can't focus. Maybe you can't get the grip on the certain knuckle curve or the certain circle change that you need. LI Yankees said, all I remember me doing in 2005 is playing SpongeBob movie game and SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottoms when I was 6 years old. You know what, LI? I had that same game. And in 2005, I was 14, so don't feel bad about yourself, bro. Do not feel bad about yourself. But it's better late than never, right, my guy? DSJ. Sergio Miche was appealing as a dirty DSJ. Stop it, DSJ. Oh, man. But yeah, guys, like I said, when it comes to Yankee news, it's very slow right now. That's why I like to be so interactive when it comes to the chat. That's why I like just throw out random topics like who we had in certain years, 2004, 2005. Fun fact, wait for this, because it's a dinger. Hold on. When the Yankees traded for Curtis Granderson, right? When they traded for Curtis Granderson, the Yankees could have got back in return Max Scherzer. But the reason why the Yankees didn't get Max Scherzer and Curtis Granderson back in return was because the Yankees didn't want to give up Phil Hughes and send Phil Hughes to Detroit. Let me say that again. When the Yankees traded for Curtis Granderson, they could have had a young Max Scherzer. The reason why they didn't get a young Max Scherzer is because they didn't want to include Phil Hughes in the trade that would send Phil Hughes to Detroit and Max Scherzer to the Yankees. Detroit at the time wanted a young starting pitcher that was established at the major league level already, Phil Hughes. Phil Hughes was established. Wasn't the best, but he was established. And they would have sent Max Scherzer over to the Yankees, but the Yankees pivoted and said no. Say it isn't so, Hector. I wish I was just making this up and pulling this out of thin air, but no, Li. No, Li. If you look up, you can look up news article, look up the year Yankees traded for Curtis Granderson, and then look up the different reporters from that time. All you got to do is take the reporter's name, put the year 2020 or put the year 2010, 20, whatever year it was, and then put the Yankees in Google search or whatever search engine you use, and those articles will pop up breaking down what the offers are, what the Yankees wanted to offer, yada, yada, etc. You'll be able to find it. Anthony Medina. Whoa, another classic Cashman special. Absolutely. Just like after the 2007 offseason, when Alex Rodriguez opted out of his contract, and I'm not sure if this is more of a Hank problem. I mean, a Hank era, a Hank Steinbrenner era, mistake. Rest in peace, Hank Steinbrenner, or Cashman mistake. After the 2007 offseason, when Alex Rodriguez opted out of his contract, there was a deal in place, a sign-and trade deal, if you want to put that out there, but a sign-and trade deal with the Yankees will give Alex Rodriguez that extension, eat a portion of that extension, and then send them over to the LA Angels, who we would have got back in return from the Angels was a package of Sean Figgins, Jared Weaver, and a few minor league prospects that never made it to the major league level. So if the Yankees would have traded Alex Rodriguez to the Angels, we would have got back in return Sean Figgins, who then signed with the Seattle Mariners, who never lived up to his contract, and we would have got back a young Jared River and some prospects who never made it to the major league level. Let me know what you guys think on that, because with that one, I'm a bit skittish. I'm a bit 50-50. Having the starting pitcher in Jared Weaver would have been awesome. Sean Figgins as a speed demon, being a super utility guy, would have been good. But what Alex Rodriguez gave us in the 2009 postseason outweighs, to me, in my opinion, what we would have got back in that trade. Jared Weaver was an all-star pitcher, phenomenal pitcher, carved out another phenomenal career for himself. But I think when it came to that A-Rod trade, with sending him to the Angels, I think the Yankees made the right move. Granted, it goes down in sports history as the worst contract for the length of the contract and the return the player got. It literally is ranked as the worst extension in sports history, contract extension. Yes, we got the 2009 World Series. Yes, we got that. But everything else that came up afterwards, right? Yeah. Just like unpopular opinion, can't give up A-Rod. No 2009 ring without him. 100% agree. 100% agree. That 2009 championship wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for A-Rod. But everything else that came afterwards, that circuit show, him going on Mike Francesa, him suing the Yankees, him talking about the man from Milwaukee is scared to have a conversation with me when talking about the Bud Selig at the time. Right? Hilarious. A great time to be alive if you were able to be alive at that time. My man Carlos with the K is in the building. We shouldn't trade for Soto. Like I think we should have traded for Soto. I'm not sure if can you put that back in, Carlos? Let me know if we should have. I still think we should have traded for Soto last. Listen, they didn't like our prospects. That 2010 trade, I'm down 100%. Contracts given out, TC Stills, definitely one of the worst contracts ever given out, especially when you put into the thought that last season, at the beginning of last season, the year before last, in 2001, this man Jacoby Ellsbury, while still getting paid by the Yankees, showed up to Fenway Park in a Boston Red Sox jersey during a ceremony while still getting paid by the Yankees. The cojones that you must have, or like Negan from The Walking Dead says, the big lady balls that you must have to do some type of move like that, Jacoby Ellsbury. But yeah, the Jacoby Ellsbury has to be one of the worst signings Brian Cashman's ever done. But at the same time, it saved us from the Robinson Cano debacle that happened. Because if that would have happened here in New York, oh my God, I don't know how us Yankee fans would have handled it. I don't know how the New York media would have handled the debacle and the downfall, which was Robinson Cano in his career. Not sure how we would have handled that. Not sure, honestly. From a Yankee fan perspective, World War III. Honestly, I would have seen red. Anthony Medina said, well, he hardly played with the Yankees, so I really never. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, hardly played with the Yankees. He had one solid first half of the season. Then he got injured that second year and was never the same. And then it's just injury after injury after injury after injury. But guys, appreciate everyone for tuning in this episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I am your host, Hector. Make sure you tune in to next Thursday that's coming up. We got the open panel, and it will be the last open panel we have before spring training starts. We'll have it during the season. We'll have it during spring training. But what I'm saying is this would be the last open panel we have where there's no Yankees in the news and the TVs or anything like that. After this Thursday, next week open panels, we'll have some spring training stuff to talk about. So guys, make sure you guys tune in this Thursday for the open panel. Make sure you guys come up on the open panel for some conversations. It's going to be a good time. And to close it out, TC still says, Bobby Bonilla is getting paid by the Mets. That's the worst contract ever. That's the worst financial move ever, because it wasn't the contract. It was they wanted to buy him out to use that money to sign some other player, but they decided to defer the payments. But whoever was in charge of finances at the time never put it in their head that, hey, deferred payments in the future may amount to this X, Y, and the third. So that's their fault. The Wilpons being the Wilpons, of course. But yeah, TC Stills, I'll see you on Thursday, my man. And peace, salutations to everybody out there. And again, make sure April 1st, you guys are in the building. I'm your guy, Hector, Yankees Morning Brew. And like always, a peace out.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then I go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then I go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then I go off. Yeah, hit the ground. Then I go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem getting better. Gotta keep on sugar, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed heavy, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it an FT to get them when they're